The snow fell gently outside, making no sound as it came to rest on the roof of the cabin. Inside, the roaring fire cast its warmth and glow onto the pair that sat gazing intently into each other's eyes. John rested his hand on Leslie's abdomen and tenderizing touched his nose with hers. "What should we call him?" she asked after a while. "Him?" John repeated, eyebrows raised in curiosity. "Or her," Leslie added. She fell silent. Her eyes focused on nothing particular, but it was as if she had stepped out of the room for a moment and simply left her body behind. When she finally spoke again, she said, "Yes, that feels right." "Does it?" John asked, hanging her on by every word. "Yes, it does," Leslie replied. She smiled down at her stomach and rubbed it gently. "I think we're going to have a girl." She brought her eyes back up to meet John's. "You'd like that, won't you?" "Of course I would," he said. He leaned in and kissed her sweetly. Then his forehead rested on against hers. He tried the words for size. "Daddy's girl." A sudden percussive noise came from outside and interrupted them. They jumped apart from each other and turned towards the sounds of the point origin, the cabin door. It was silent once again. "John," Leslie began, "you don't think—" "Shh," he said, embracing her warmly. "I'm sure it was nothing. Ice falling off the roof. We're just jumpy, that's all." "Yes," she said, "that's all." She smiled up at him and had begun to laugh when the sound came again. "What the?" John uttered, even more annoyed than frightened. "John, what's happening?" Leslie asked. "I'm scared." "Don't worry," he said. "I'll go check it out. Just wait here." He stood immediately, regretting his attempt at heroism. How would they know they weren't being stalked by a bear or some horror movie serial killer? In a cabin out in the middle of nowhere, and on a dark winter night, both seem equally possible, along with the full range of possibilities in between them. Still, he had to promise to investigate, and that's what he was standing. He had no choice but to follow through. Gingerly, he approached the door. Once there, he grasped at the knob and turned it, counted to 3, and pulled it open. Only the darkness of the forest and the starless, snow-heavy skinned eyes met him, feeling some minor relief. He next changed himself to the step in the doorway. He did so and poked his head out, first looking into left and then right for some time, a sign of what was going on. That was when he saw it. Stuck in one of the logs right up to the door was an axe. Someone had driven it hard into the side of the cabin, and John was sure that he hadn't just seen it there when they arrived. Beside it was slender gouge, evidence of a pure previous swing. This, John thought, must have been what caused the noises. Before he could say anything further, another sound rushed to his ears. Glass could be heard breaking on the other side of the cabin. Leslie's scream came next. John rushed back inside, leaving the door open behind him. "Leslie!" he shouted. Before he could receive an answer or even get a read on the situation, a swift blow came from behind and sent him instantly back into consciousness. The first John's senses to return upon waking up, the feeling, the pain in his back and his head was strong, but it paled in some comparison that of the chill that covered his exposed skin. He made his move to get up and find something to cover himself, and he found out that he could not. Something bound with each of his hands, forcing his arms out of reach to his side, as if they were being crucified. His scratchy restraints felt familiar. He wondered to himself, rope? The sight was next to him, and John found himself starting up in his bathroom ceiling. Something was wrong. Memories rushed in. There had been a sound, an axe, glass breaking, a scream. Leslie! He fought hard against the ropes that held him, working himself into a panic more and more as they refused to loosen. "Leslie!" he shouted. "Leslie, where are you?" "She can't hear you, John." A familiar voice floated from the corner of the room. John shivered through whatever it was, from the cold or the realization he wasn't alone. He couldn't tell. "Sarah?" he asked incredulously. Of course, Sarah said softly. John flinched as he became aware of another figure in his room. This one was clearly male. He towered over the bed where John lay. A ski mask concealed his face, all except for a pair of painful, wide, and vicious eyes. What the hell? John muttered. Sarah seemed to know what he meant, because she answered saying, This is my new friend Jackson. He's been kind enough to help me this evening. She approached the bed and sat, and John could only see her fully. She looked thinner and somewhat more haggard than when she saw her last, but she smiled nonetheless. It has been a while, hasn't it? What the fuck are you doing here? John demanded. Where the hell is Leslie? Come now, John, Sarah said. The divorce isn't final yet. We're still technically co-owners of this beautiful little cabin. She looked around the room and sighed. I did love it so here. The sadness in her voice and her faraway stare would undoubtedly have touched John's heart, a little under a different set of circumstances. Where's Leslie? He asked again. What have you done with her? Relax, Sarah began. You really love her, don't you? Yes, he said. Dread began to fill in. Where had they taken Leslie? I can tell, Sarah said. I've seen how you are with her, so warm and sweet. Her eyes began to glisten, and then she swiftly turned her head away. The implication of her words set in. You've been watching us? Sarah kept her face hidden. Yes, love. Please don't call me that, John snapped. Sorry, Sarah said, turning her head once more to face him. It's a habit. I've been trying to break it. I could have stopped years ago. I should have stopped the second I knew you'd never call me that. Her voice trailed off as she seemed to retreat to some place to inside herself. What the hell is going on here, Sarah? John hollered, snapping his soon-to-be ex-wife out of the reverie. Don't be impatient, she scolded lightly. That's you. You're always just wants to get to the point. You never... Fuck you, Sarah. Tell me what you want and where you took Leslie. Sarah looked defeated. She took a deep breath. Fine, she said, casting her eyes downwards. I'm scared, John. I'm scared to go through with this divorce. Not just because I love you and we won't be married anymore. It's just bad enough. But there is another piece to it. Her voice began to shake. The pre-impedable agreement you made you? John interjected. Yes, John, you made me. You know you did. He fell silent. This was the truth, and he knew it. Sarah continued. Anyway, because of that agreement, I have to leave this marriage only as much as I had when I came in. That was nothing, John. When you found me, I was diner waitress, working 2 shifts a day just to try and make ends meet. I was a bad tip away from selling myself on the streets, and when he walked in this very handsome and very wealthy man who just kept me off my feet and gave me more than I should ever ask for. You gave me so much luxurious life, John. So much of it's wonderful. She paused. Well, not having to worry about the money was wonderful. I can't exactly say the same for how you treated me. How I treated you? John flashed, attempt to once more free himself. Yes, Sarah insisted. You got a kick out of me, I guess. All I wanted was a little warmth from you, but you got colder and colder. Her tears began to flow. You were so cruel, and all I did was love you. But you met her, and that girl, she's practically a child. Leslie is more than a woman than you will ever be, John spat. Sarah was quiet. Her body shook with silent sobs. It was quite some time before she spoke again. John, I love you, and I'm sorry if I did anything to make you hate me, and I'm sorry for what else I needed to do. John's heart began to race. What are you talking about? Sarah stood and moved her foot to the bed. I can't go back to the life I had, John. That's why I can't let the divorce go through. You have no choice, John insisted. Sarah took another breath. That's where you'd be wrong, because I'm still your wife, and if you were to die tonight, everything would be left to me. John's heart pounded in his chest. He could feel his face written. No, Sarah, please. And so, she continued, I know what I have to do. She continued to speak absent-mindedly, seeming unaware of John's protests. The only question was how to do it, and then he got an idea. For much as so our marriage, you were very cold to me, so I thought. It's the dead of winter, and he's up here with that woman. Wouldn't let it be poetic and tie him up. Doused him with water, and then open all the windows? She gave him a frail smile. I'm rather proud of my creativity. I looked up the hypothermia does to the body, and well, I'm sorry to say that it won't be fast or pleasant, if I'm honest. Though that thought kind of makes me happy. No, John writhed and wiggled. Let me go. You can't do this. You crazy bitch. Where's Leslie? Leslie! Sarah's smile faded. She turned to Jackson with a nod. Seeing this, the man moved to the side of the bed, reached down for something on the floor, what was sent to John into a frenzy. Leslie's lifeless corpse dangled before him, held as soft by Jackson's burial grip around her delicate neck. John screamed in utter agony as the boy let go of his lover's body and fell to the floor once again with a sickening thud. Yes, said Sarah, you did love her. That makes this easier. Sarah and Jackson produced buckets, which had been previously kept out of sight. John could only barely hear the contents sloshing around between his own screams. The impact of the cold water shocked him, causing him to gasp and take some breaths out of his lungs. Screaming gave away, choking and sputtering, and although came to a sound of the nearest window being opened. What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, please stay pretty.